They told us Meghan Markle's past was spotless, but what if the truth was buried under sealed files, hushed family deals, and a secret so explosive it could shatter her entire fairy tale? Because this isn't just gossip. This is about a missing year, a teenage marriage, and a child the world was never supposed to know existed. And it all starts with one voice that refused to stay quiet. For years, Meghan Markle's story has been sold like polished crystal, smooth, inspiring, untouchable. The hardworking girl from Los Angeles, the ambitious student, the actress who beat the odds and married into royalty, every chapter neat, every timeline clean, every detail rehearsed, until suddenly, Samantha Markle stepped forward, not gently, not cautiously, but like someone lighting a match in a room full of secrets. With one sentence, she ripped a hole straight through Meghan's carefully curated narrative. She was married in 1995, and she already had a child. No dramatic buildup, no press conference theatrics, just a statement so blunt it made the world freeze. A teenage wife, a hidden husband, a baby erased, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Because when you start looking closely, when you stop admiring the fairy tale and start questioning the gaps, the story doesn't fall apart loudly. It cracks quietly. And the first crack is a year that simply disappears. June 1994. Meghan graduates from Immaculate Heart High School. Her classmates scatter into adulthood. College dorms, gap year adventures, summer jobs, first freedoms. Meghan tells the world she's taking time off. A gap year, travel, self-discovery, a pause before Northwestern University. Sounds harmless, except no one can prove it. No travel photos, no exchange programs, no host families, no stamps, no records, no stories, nothing. 12 months of her life vanish like someone ripped a page straight out of a diary, and that blank space, it sits perfectly over the exact window Samantha claims Meghan wasn't finding herself at all. She was getting married, because according to quiet whispers and hushed recollections, while the world believed Meghan was planning her future, she was doing something far more permanent. She was saying, I do. Summer 1994, Las Vegas. Not the neon fantasy people imagine. Not champagne and chaos, but a small, forgettable chapel just off the strip, the kind tourists walk past without noticing. No classmates, no family fanfare, no cameras, just Meghan Markle, 18 years old, and a young man named Giuliano, a name that doesn't appear in interviews, a face missing from photographs, a chapter scrubbed clean. The Giuliano family, by every account, was old school, Italian-American, Chicago-rooted, tight-knit to the point of secrecy, loyalty over everything, privacy like a fortress, 2 relatives, 2 witnesses, no audience. 30 minutes later, it was done. No gown, no bouquet, just signatures, vows, and a legal bond no one was supposed to remember. And then something even stranger happens. The marriage doesn't just fade into the past, it allegedly vanishes. An annulment is filed almost immediately, sealed, locked away, inaccessible. Clark County doesn't confirm, doesn't deny, just silence, and silence like that, it screams, because if this was just a teenage mistake, if it meant nothing, why bury it so deeply no one can touch it? And then comes the moment that changes everything. Only months later, Meghan allegedly discovers she's pregnant. 18 years old, barely out of high school, standing at a brutal crossroads. On one side, vows, family expectations, responsibility, and a life that suddenly feels very small. On the other, college dreams, acting ambitions, a future under bright lights instead of closed doors. For the Giuliano family, pregnancy meant duty. For Meghan, it meant everything she wanted slipping away. And according to those close to the situation, by mid-1995, a baby girl is born, quietly, privately, without Meghan's name attached anywhere. No birth announcement, no hospital trail, no official link, just a newborn whose existence would change 3 lives and be hidden from the world. This is where the story takes its darkest turn, because instead of adoption agencies or legal transfers, a private agreement is made, one rooted in trust, in silence, in protection. The Giuliano family would raise the child themselves, no paperwork connecting her to Meghan, no public records, no questions asked. And Meghan, she would walk away. The baby grows up inside the Giuliano household. Neighbors see her, family gatherings include her. She laughs, plays, belongs. But officially, she doesn't exist. Whenever questions come, the answers are vague. A relative's child, nothing more, nothing less. A secret raised in plain sight. Meanwhile, Meghan prepares for Reinvention. Fall 1995 arrives, and with it, Northwestern University. And the way she enters that campus tells its own story. No mention of marriage, no hint of pregnancy. No trace of a child. She builds a new identity from scratch. Friends, theater, ambition, momentum. She becomes someone else entirely. And according to whispered accounts, she never contacts the Giulianos again. No calls, no letters, no visits. That chapter is sealed shut, locked, erased. 2 lives move forward in parallel. One soaring into fame, the other growing quietly in Chicago. Only one gets written into history. Years pass, then decades. Meghan becomes an actress, a public figure, a duchess, a symbol, and somewhere else, a young woman grows into adulthood carrying something something unmistakable. Her face, the same eyes, the same bone structure, the same silent resemblance, no photos together, no documents linking them, no public acknowledgement. On paper, they're strangers. In blood, they're inseparable. And the most haunting part? Those close to the young woman say she may not even know the full truth. She may not realize her life was shaped by a promise made before she could speak, a promise of silence. For nearly 30 years, that silence held, until Samantha Markle cracked it open, because if this marriage happened, if this child exists, if those sealed documents hide what they're rumored to hide, then Meghan Markle's story isn't just incomplete, it's standing on a fault line, and fault lines don't stay quiet forever. For nearly 30 years, the silence held like a locked jaw. No leaks, no accidental slips, no photographs surfacing at the wrong time. Just a secret buried so deep it survived fame, royalty, global scrutiny, and an entire media machine designed to dig. But secrets don't disappear. They age, they ferment, they wait. And the moment Samantha Markle spoke, that silence didn't just crack, it echoed. Because once the idea is planted, once people realize there is a missing year, a sealed annulment, and a child-shaped shadow hovering at the edge of Meghan's timeline, the questions start multiplying faster than answers can suppress them. People begin to ask, why has Meghan always been so precise about her narrative, yet so vague about her early adulthood? Why does every interview glide over that gap like it's radioactive? Why does 1994 to 1995 feel like forbidden territory? And more importantly, who benefits from keeping it that way? Because let's be clear, this level of silence doesn't happen accidentally. This isn't a forgotten summer fling. This isn't a rumor that fizzled out. This is systematic erasure, a marriage allegedly wiped clean, a birth allegedly detached from its mother, a family allegedly bound by loyalty and secrecy. And at the center of it all, Meghan Markle, reinventing herself with surgical precision. Once she entered Northwestern, the transformation was total. The past wasn't just left behind, it was rewritten out. She didn't behave like someone who'd merely moved on. She behaved like someone who had escaped. No references, no nostalgia, no slips of the tongue. And that kind of discipline, it usually comes from fear. Fear that one loose thread could pull everything apart. As Meghan's career slowly climbed, auditions, rejections, minor roles, there was still no trace of the life she allegedly left behind. No surprise visitors, no anonymous tips, no background whispers from college classmates. Which raises another unsettling thought. What if everyone involved understood the stakes? The Giuliano family, by all accounts, valued privacy over exposure. They had no interest in tabloids, fame, or public drama. They raised the child quietly without demanding recognition or compensation. No lawsuits, no interviews, no threats, just silence. And that silence protected Meghan as much as it protected the child, because exposure would have destroyed more than one life. Imagine the reality if this story surfaced earlier, before acting roles, before Hollywood polish, before the royal spotlight, a teenage marriage, a secret pregnancy, a child left behind. That's not a comeback story, that's a scandal. And scandals don't play well with carefully engineered public images. So the years rolled on. Meghan's star rose. Her past stayed buried until she stepped onto the biggest stage of all. Royalty doesn't just magnify fame, it magnifies scrutiny. Suddenly, journalists weren't just interested in her future. They were tearing through her past with forensic intensity. Old classmates were contacted, teachers were interviewed, childhood homes were photographed, and yet, that year still stayed empty. No one could fill it, which is why Samantha Markle's words landed like a controlled explosion, because she didn't accuse Meghan of something vague or emotional. She named a year, she named a marriage, she named a child. Specifics are dangerous. And once those specifics exist, investigators, professional and amateur, start lining up timelines, locations, courthouse procedures, family movements. They notice something chilling. The alleged Vegas marriage lines up perfectly with the missing year. The sealed annulment fits the timeline. The lack of public birth records aligns with a private family arrangement. And suddenly, what sounded impossible starts to look plausible. That's when the whispers turn darker. Because people begin asking why Meghan has always framed motherhood as something deeply symbolic, something tied to healing, rebirth, and control. Why she speaks about identity and reinvention with such intensity. Why her past relationships appear cleanly segmented with no overlap, almost like someone who learned very young how to cut chapters cleanly. Meanwhile, the woman in Chicago, the one alleged to be the child, continues living an ordinary life. No spotlight, no interviews, no public claims, just a resemblance that unsettles those who see it. Same eyes, same mouth, same quiet gravity. And according to whispers, she may not even know why certain truths were never discussed, why questions were deflected, why some answers never came. Because silence doesn't just hide secrets, it shapes people. It teaches them what not to ask, what not to want, what not to dig into. And if this story is real, if even parts of it are real, then the cost of Meghan's reinvention wasn't just personal, it was generational. The irony is brutal. A woman celebrated globally for finding her voice may have built her life on withholding one, and now, decades later, that withheld truth is knocking, not loudly, not violently, but persistently. Because sealed files don't erase memories, agreements don't erase DNA, and time doesn't erase resemblance. The world may never see proof stamped and notarized, the Giulianos may never speak, the daughter may never step forward, but the story doesn't need a press conference to exist. It lives in what's missing, in what's avoided, in what no one will deny outright. And here's the part that lingers, the part that refuses to let this story fade. If this secret stayed buried through Hollywood, if it survived royalty, if it endured global attention, then why is it surfacing now? Because secrets don't surface when it's safe. They surface when they're no longer containable. And if this one ever steps fully into the light, not as rumor, not as speculation, but as undeniable truth, it won't just alter public perception. It will rewrite everything from the beginning. Because the most dangerous stories aren't the ones that explode overnight. They're the ones that wait 30 years and then decide the world is finally ready to hear them.